Hello everyone, today I am sharing the process video of how I made Tiernan the Dragon. So let's get started. I started out this project using a neutral color core batting. I order all of my needle felting materials from Gray Fox Felting on Etsy, and I will share a link to her shop in the description below. My dragon was created using a wire armature. In an upcoming video, I will show the process from the beginning. Creating a dragon of this size requires a good investment of time. I prefer using the colored wool bats for a project this size because it really simplifies the process and gives a beautiful finish to the dragon. Here I'm working on adding the base skin color. In this part of the process, I typically use a medium-sized needle. With larger projects, I can't even begin to express how helpful it is to have a tri-needle tool like the one I'm using. A tri-needle tool gives you the ability to cover a lot of space in less time. When I make felted animals and creatures, I really like to make sure that I add enough wool to important structural areas, such as where the arms and legs attach to the body. By felting continuously and focusing on building up these areas, you are able to give your wool sculpture the sturdiness it needs to stand on its own. Here you can see that I am adding the pads to the dragon's feet. I decided to use a mossy green color for his feet to add contrast to the dragon's blue skin. A lot of my work is inspired by nature, and this sweet old dragon is inspired by the waters and mossy forests of the Pacific Northwest where we lived for a year. I love this color combination and felt it was perfect for a grumpy old dragon who prefers to live quietly in the woods. I wanted this dragon to have a spike on the end of his tail, so I'm taking the same green wool batting that I used on his feet and creating a tip shape. I lay the wool batting down flat, then outline the shape I want the tail to look like when it's done, using my felting needle. Once I have the outline, I simply fold the wool over into the outline shape. Then, I felt the rest of that wool in, and to create the look I'm going for, I'll add wool batting until the tip of the tail is the thickness it needs to be. I finish with a fine needle to smooth out the wool. If you look at the tip of the tail, I left loose pieces of wool. This helps when it comes time to attach the tip to the rest of the tail. To give the tip a unique look, I like to fold the wool a little where it will meet the tail to give it that concave look like it's folded over. Now it's time to attach that tip of the tail to the rest of the tail. I like to put the tip of the tail on before I put the actual skin color. So what I do is I attach the tail using those loose fibers, and then I cover it with the color of the rest of the dragon. I make sure I needle felt it very sturdy because you don't want the tail to be loose or anything like that. A good way to know that it's sturdy and that you've needle felted enough is just kind of test with your fingers. If you can pull up wool and it's loose, keep on needle felting. Now on to the dragon's face. This is where you really get to sculpt with wool. When I started this project, I created his body and face and gave him a general outline, so to speak. But this is where I get to add the details. Dragons seem reminiscent of alligators or crocodiles, so I draw a lot of reference from how a crocodile's face is shaped. Using a medium needle, I sculpt out the features like his nostrils, the eyebrows, and even the ridges on top of his nose. I use the needle to sculpt where his mouth line is, and then I make sure that I needle felt the bottom of his mouth a little more to give him the overbite look that I imagine this dragon would have. I add more wool around his eyes to prep for the glass eyes that I'll be putting in. Here's how my Tiernan the Dragon is looking so far. The most time-consuming part of creating him is over, and now I can move on to the next part, the details. This is when I get to add the little things that make him uniquely him. Notice how the wool is smoothly attached and appears firm? This gives your finished animal or creature that nice finished look. On to his eyes. Eyes are the window to the soul, and with a sweet dragon like this, I love using glass eyes. I have a variety pack that I ordered off of Amazon a while ago and has multiple sizes of this eye design. Before I use any glue, I make sure I have the right size chosen. To do this, take a coarse felting needle or a larger sewing needle and create a hole where the eyes will go. Don't make the hole too big, but be sure that you'll be able to get the pin part of the eye into the place you chose. Once you've chosen your eye size, simply put some glue on the stem of the eye. In this video, you'll see I used super glue, but I would recommend tacky glue. Simply put a dot of tacky glue on the spot where the eye will go, and some on the stem, and then push the base into the wool. Hold for a few seconds to make sure it is secure. Now, repeat with the other side. Once the glass eyes are in, I like to add a little more definition to those eyes. To do this, I create larger eyelids by adding more wool around his eye in the shape of crescents. I work on both sides at the same time to make sure that they are as symmetrical as possible. Now for my favorite part. Tiernan is an old dragon, and I think old dragons would have bushy eyebrows. To create this look, I'm taking some of the same green wool that I used for his tail tip and feet to give him that cranky old dragon personality. I felt them securely onto the top eyebrows, but I make sure to leave the ends loose to make them look bushy. A dragon isn't a dragon without his wings, and now it is a time to attach them. Unfortunately, I didn't record how I created his wings, but I will be making a new video in the future that focuses on my process to create them. For today, I'll let you know his wings were created using a wire armature like his body was. then covered in core wool, then felted using the colors I had chosen. In today's video, I will show how I attach his wings to the body, but be sure to subscribe to see the wing video when it is uploaded. As you can see, his wings have a slight bend in the middle that sits on top of his body. To attach, I place the wings where I want them, then add more of the dragon skin color I chose on top of that wire. I felt the wool until securely in place, adding more wool as needed to where the wings meet the body for support, just like we did with the arms and legs. It is very important here to make sure your wool is well felted because no dragon wants floppy wings. You can see that with all the extra added wool and secure felting, this dragon's wings are now attached to his body, and there is a smooth finish to the top of him. Now that I'm happy with how his wings look on him and how they rest, I can move on to the final touches. This part of the dragon did take a bit of time, but it was important to me to make sure that those wings were stable and able to be posed for whoever adopts him into their home. At this point, I like to look over the dragons to see where more definition can be added. On Tiernan, I saw that he needed more sculpting in his nose area as well as his feet. His feet were a little floppy, so taking time to felt more and sculpt his feet with the felting needle gives him the strong footing he needs. I added thin pieces of blue wool to give his feet more definition between the toes, and I held his feet in the position that they needed to be so that he was stable. This part is really a trial and error process. As you felt, set your dragon back down to see how he is sitting, then simply adjust the feet and needle felt as needed. I did this for all 4 feet until I was satisfied with how he sat on the table. Tiernan also needed definition added to his hindquarters where his legs meet his body. To do this, I used a medium needle to sculpt the details I felt were missing. If you notice, I did use a darker color wool to give it the look of shading in those areas. After the darker color wool is put down, I would just put a very light coating of the same blue that I used for his skin to kind of soften the look of it, but still make it noticeable. For the bottom of Tiernan's belly, I wanted to add some more details in the same color as his feet and his eyebrows and his wings. So all I did was just take a little bit of that same green wool and put it in little rows to give him that kind of bumpy look that a reptile would have. On the top side of Tiernan, I did the same kind of thing that I did on the bottom side, but with very small pieces to give it the kind of spiky, scaly look of a dragon. Kind of like a stegosaurus, but smaller. And there is Tiernan. In total, this project took roughly 3.5 to 4 hours to complete. I will be uploading whimsical needle felting tutorials to YouTube on a regular basis and will be sure to make a video on how to create the body for a dragon like Tiernan. If you want to adopt a dragon like him, be sure to go visit my Etsy shop. The link is in the description below, or just search Bluebell and Lilac in the shop search on Etsy to see the whimsical fairies, gnomes, and creatures I create. I would love if you went over and followed my shop page on Instagram, where I post daily content. And as a small creator, shares and likes mean the world to me. Click that subscribe button today and be sure to turn on notifications. Have a beautiful day.